What's up, everybody? Thanks as always for supporting the show. It would mean a lot to me if you would take a second to scroll down and hit that subscribe button to the Hoops Tonight YouTube channel, and then follow me on social media on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter so you guys don't miss any of our content over the course of this season. All right, let's talk some basketball. It's crazy that USA had to be rescued by Grandpa James yet again. Wasn't this supposed to be the new dream team that would beat the 92 squad? Either way, this team isn't that good, or the rest of the world has caught up. Either way, I'd be concerned if I was an American. So I did not see this team as good as the dream team. I think this is the third best national team that I've seen. I should actually say the fourth best. It's tough to say. That 2008 and 2012 team, there were some similarities, but I think 92, 2008, 2012. All of those teams had the undisputed best player in the world at that point in time. Like in 92, obviously with Michael Jordan, you could argue Scottie Pippen was in that conversation as well at that point in time. I shouldn't say in conversation for number one, but a lot of people viewed Scottie as the second best player in the world during that time. Coming into 2008, I think Kobe was the best player in the world at that time. LeBron was right on his heels. They were both on that team. 2012, LeBron, undisputed best player in the world. Kevin Durant, hot on his heels. Those two guys were all on the team. This team doesn't have a single player that's going to be considered in the same conversation as Giannis or Luka Doncic or Nikola Jokic. So I don't think they're as top-end talented, but I do think that they are a very well-rounded basketball team. Now, Steve Kerr has done some janky stuff with the lineups that's made it tricky. I want to get more into that in just a second, but I don't think this is like an absolute world-beating type of squad like the 92, 2008, and 2012 teams in terms of the absolute apex talent. It's more of like a depth of talent kind of thing. They're not going to just absolutely demolish everybody like the 92 Dream Team did simply because there's more international NBA talent now. I saw an Instagram kind of like graphic the other day that showed that in the 1992 Olympic run, there were fewer than 10 NBA players playing for FIBA teams. Now there's more than 60. So that just gives you a basic demonstration of how much NBA talent there is playing overseas. And one of the things I talk about a lot, I shouldn't say playing overseas, playing for FIBA teams, but I talk a lot about the concept of diminishing returns, right? Like if every player has to fulfill responsibilities on the floor, and superstars are famous for being able to take these like big chunks of responsibilities, a lot of times you need guys to fill in small roles. And when you take a star level player and ask him to fill a small role, like there's just not going to be that much of a gap. Like for instance, Devin Booker and what he does for Team USA is not that much better than what other two guards are doing for other FIBA teams, even though Devin Booker's a way better player. It just has to do with the diminishing returns of Devin Booker being in the type of role that he is with Team USA. That said, they are underachieving to this point. I do think that they are good enough to go over there and win every game by around 10 to 15 points. That's what I predicted last summer. That's what I think should happen. That's what this team's potential is with the talent they have. They should go over there and they shouldn't blow everybody out, but they should at least win convincingly. They should win comfortably every single one of these games. But that's not been the case. They've been in a couple of knockdown, drag-out fights, namely with Germany and with South Sudan, right? Now that is where we have to get to Steve Kerr and the lineup structure. Because the end of this question is, either way, I'd be concerned if I was an American. My concern surrounding the team's performance, I'm holding off until we actually see them play in some FIBA, these Olympic games. Because in the showcase, there's more of a lack of urgency when it comes to Steve Kerr and trying to figure out lineup combinations that work. For instance, doing line shifts, that's not usually how basketball works. Usually, like, you sub 2 or 3 guys out, maybe 1 or 2 guys out at a time, and you're kind of like, guys play longer shifts, and it's more of like a flow from unit to unit. Steve Kerr's been doing line shifts. He's been going 5 in, 5 out, and just swapping guys out, and then maybe mixing up a little bit towards the tail end of these games. And so I really just want to see the types of lineups that Steve Kerr uses in the real games. If he's still doing line shifts, if he still has Embiid with the starters, that's where I think there's some vulnerability here. Because with Embiid with the starters and with Anthony Davis and Bam Adebayo with that bench group, there's a little bit of like an imbalance. I talked about this a lot in our last show, so I won't go into as much detail, but the short version is the starters really struggle to rebound and really struggle to chase over the top of screens with Embiid in his drop coverage. Well, look at the lineup. It's a 36-year-old Steph who's turning 37 next year, 39-year-old LeBron is turning 40 next year, and Devin Booker that you're asking to chase over screens with Drew Holiday, or with Drew Holiday being the only guy in that lineup that's a professional screen navigator. And you're asking them to chase over on with Joel Embiid in drop coverage. That's just a poor use of those players and their skill sets. In addition to that, you're not rebounding well with that group. Well, for all the same reasons. Devin Booker, average athlete at the NBA level. Steph Curry, going to be 37 next year. LeBron, going to be 40 next year. Of course, you're not a great rebounding team. So, like, a lot of this is by simply making some basic tweaks to the lineup structure. For instance, like swap Devin Booker out with a guy like Jason Tatum. Make yourself a substantially better rebounding team. Jason Tatum can do what Devin Booker does. Move Anthony Davis into the starting lineup. By the way, as far as Tatum with the starters goes, that could also be Kevin Durant. Put Kevin Durant in for Devin Booker, right? Then if I have, let's just say Tatum for the sake of this particular discussion. If I go Steph, Drew, Tatum, LeBron, AD, and I'm switching, I'm a substantially better defensive rebounding team, and I'm a substantially more cohesive defensive unit because I'm running a scheme that makes sense with those particular guys. I don't want Steph chasing over screens. I don't want LeBron chasing over screens. I don't want KD I want those guys switching, and those guys all can switch pretty well. Drew can guard up. Steph, he's not the most athletic guy in the world, but he's 6'3", and he's pretty big and strong, and he's pretty good at forcing guys to take pull-up jump shots over the top. Anthony Davis can defend guards. LeBron James can switch. Those guys, that's a switching unit, in my opinion. Then you put Embiid with the bench group where they're struggling to score in the half court, and Embiid's another offensive hub, a guy that can really add some offensive firepower to that unit. And so I want to see what they look like in the real games to see if Steve Kerr applies those specific concepts. Because if he does, I do think Team USA is going to win by 10-15 every single game and get out of there relatively comfortably. But I'm really curious to see the strategy that they employ when they get out there. Next question. What political reason would cause Embiid to start? He's not a Nike athlete. He plays for the Sixers and is not even born in America. Are we sure it's just not Steve Kerr being stupid? I think this has mostly probably has to do with some sort of under-the-table deal to try to get Embiid to not play for France instead. Right? Like that was the whole thing was, is he going to play for France? And I don't know if it had to do with the fact that Team USA needed a big and, because like even you could argue if the Team USA only had AD and Bam, they might be a little undersized on the front line, right? So like Team USA kind of needed a big. France had Wembanyama and Gobert, right? So like it's a little bit that probably had something to do with it, but it's very possible that there was some sort of deal underneath the table where it's like, hey, I will leave the Team France and play for Team USA as long as you let me start. That very well might have been worked out. I think that's stupid. I think promise to play agreements are a loser mentality, and I've seen them all over the place. Obviously, we've heard about it in the NBA in terms of agency politics, but like I've seen it at the college level. I've seen coaches promise starting spots. I saw a JUCO coach once promise a guard at 20 shot attempts a game. Like talk about a loser mentality, right? Like instead of like having a player earn that right or having a player demonstrate that he's deserving of that type of offensive workload, there are these deals being cut. That basketball games aren't won by deals getting cut. They're won by basketball teams organically taking shape by virtue of what is earned on the floor. And so I'm not a huge fan of that. I'm not sure if that's what happened, but that would be an example of a political reason that would lead Embiid to start. Like, hey, we'll start you, but that's your kind of like, the dangling bait to get you to leave Team France. Is LeBron really the best player on Team USA or just the most experienced playing with a star-studded team? I do think through these 5 games to this point that LeBron has demonstrated in a small sample size, he is the best all-around basketball player in that group. With his size, strength, athleticism, playmaking ability, shooting ability, his downhill ability, his ability to play bully ball around the basket, he's demonstrated that to this point. Do I want LeBron or Jason Tatum to start training camp tomorrow? I want Jason Tatum. Do I want LeBron or Anthony Davis to start training camp tomorrow? I want Anthony Davis, right? Like at a certain point, LeBron's age becomes a factor in the grand scheme of an NBA campaign. From the tip-off of training camp to the Larry O'Brien Trophy in mid-June, you're going to want a younger player. And I don't think LeBron belongs in those conversations because all you have to do is watch the Lakers. He's conserving energy in a lot of areas throughout the 82 just to try to survive, right? But that's not the case for this Team USA example, right? Like in these games, LeBron is the best player in this small sample size because he is healthy right now. He is in great shape right now. He is, well-rounded and ready to go right now. And so, yeah, is LeBron the best player on Team USA? Yes. Is he the best American basketball player to start a franchise with? Probably not. He's probably considerably further down on that list. Do you think the Olympics are a precursor of what's to come in the regular season, like LeBron and Kobe's seasons after the 08 Olympics? I'll just put it this simple. There's no version of this where you go and play against the best American basketball players in practice and the best players in the world in games over the summer that doesn't make you a better basketball player. It's really that simple. Every single player that went to this Team USA camp is going to come out a better basketball player, which would inherently lead them into more productive NBA campaigns next year, provided their bodies hold up. But as long as their bodies hold up, there's nothing but good that comes from this. Not even to mention just the conditioning element that, by the time this is done, it's going to be mid-August or late August. And at that point in time, they're a month and a half from training camp. So at that point, you maybe take a week or two off, but then you're gearing up for the season anyway. I bet you there are going to be guys who come out of Team USA and just stay in the gym and make sure they're ready by the time they get there.